Allow me to introduce to you Jesus Seade. He was and is the NAFTA negotiator for Andrés Manuel López Obrador. He is the president-elect of Mexico, who officially takes power on Saturday. Mr. Seade will be the next Mexican undersecretary for North America and responsible for upholding the new trade agreement, the USMCA, as well as relations with the Trump administration and the government of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Welcome to Bloomberg.
It's a great pleasure, Erik.
So, the USMCA, the successor deal to NAFTA, will be signed in less than 12 hours. You've been involved in these negotiations for months. Is the USMCA an agreement you can support? Is it an agreement AMLO can support? Is it an agreement you both can recommend to the Mexican Congress?
Absolutely. I think it really is, honest to God, as they say, a win-win-win. I really think it's good for the three countries. It's good for Mexico. Not everything is good. There are minuses, but it's, on balance, a good agreement. On
balance, it's a good agreement. What improves for Mexico?
Well, I think that the whole region becomes more a good basis to invest in the car industry. And the car industry is the most important part of the agreement. This is where most of the trade takes place. And there'll have to be more investment by the Toyotas and Hondas and Mercedes and all the German and Korean. And that I really see reasons for it to go to all three countries in different ways. That's one.
When you describe this agreement as a win-win-win, you're referring to the text that you most recently saw. But we hear that the United States has been making subtle changes to the text of the agreement. Is that the case?
No, there have been some adjustments that we have discussed and we have agreed, not really substantive changes. Some adjustments, things that make sense until now. But there are also claims of bigger adjustments, bigger changes to be made for ratification. And for those, really, my answer is we have negotiated, we have closed the agreement. We will listen very respectfully to the needs and find ways to address them, not changing the agreement. So there are two kinds of things.
Do you anticipate being surprised by what's put on the table tomorrow morning?
No, not at all. No, we have discussed minor things, but no major changes.
And what are these other issues or these other changes that you're aware of, and do they pose a risk to the fast-track process that is supposed to take place after the signing, the ratification by the relative parliaments or congresses?
Well, there have been a number of references, things that some people want to change, some of them in the area of labor. On labor, I really tell you the agreement we have is a chapter and an annex is best practice, like nothing you can imagine.
You don't need to tell me. You need to tell the Democratic Party in the United States.
But I'm expressing my belief. It's a best practice catalog of things. And what is being requested by some people in the new Democratic Congress is not labor-related issues, but enforcement, so trade-related issues, not labor, but trade, so that the good practices that they agree are good practices are seen to be done because there's some certification when the good crosses the border. That's trade, not labor. So we have to develop ideas for this kind of confidence to build and to give a satisfaction to the people who have a valid concern.
How concerned are you that this Democratic Party that just so recently took control of the House of Representatives of the United States may hold up this agreement and prevent that fast-track process from moving forward?
Well, we are certainly aware, concerned. It'll be a very tough discussion, negotiation. I envisage it not to be the normal 4 to 6 months, maybe the whole year. But at the end of the day...
You think it may take a whole year to work out these differences?
Well, it's up to them. It's up to them. We are ready, whatever it is. But I really believe that at the end of the day, the support that has built up in the American spectrum across the board, big firms, small firms, representations, trade associations for big firms, for small firms, associations for consumers, governors all over the country. The support from all of them has built from little in February and March to more and more.
Let me ask you this question. How do you tolerate the fact that on the very morning that you'll be signing the USMCA, the United States will still have tariffs in place on Mexican steel?
Well, that's very regrettable, and we have to work on that. I really thought that should have been eliminated by now. It won't be the case, but we have to address it, definitely. That cannot be there for an extended period.
How long does it take to resolve? How long until the United States either reduces or eliminates those tariffs?
For me, given that it won't be before the signing, which is tomorrow morning, there's little time between now and then. Let's say the calendar year would be a very natural, because it's fully discussed.
By December 31st,
yeah, that's my hope.
Resolved.
That's my hope, yeah.
And have you had any signals from the administration that that's likely?
Well, all this has been, this is not part of the treaty negotiation. This is separate, so it's being handled by the current Mexican administration. Starting tomorrow, day after, we begin to talk about that. And
is the president-elect going to go along with President Trump's demand that the migrants, the caravan that has come to the border, be kept from crossing the border, or furthermore, be deported from Mexico back to where they came? Honduras, for example, or other countries in Central America.
We don't deport. That's not something that's part of our traditions or practice. How this is handled, it's still to be seen. It's a very complicated thing. But what we have to do, and really my part in this story, is to look beyond the current crisis and build a relationship where we address the migration issue at root, developing to the regions where migration comes from in Mexico, and particularly in Central America.
We can't forget about the backdrop, global trade. You were a professor in Hong Kong. You're an expert on China. Peter Navarro, a Trump hardliner on trade, is going to be at the dinner that Presidents Trump and Xi have on Saturday night. What does his presence signal to you about the Trump administration's willingness to do a deal with China?
They are playing tough. I doubt the U.S. will press all the way to trigger a trade war.
You doubt that?
I doubt it. I think there'll be a lot of push, spirited negotiation, and a spirited negotiation requires a serious push, but not to trigger an all-out trade war. If I am wrong, and this is not what the U.S. does, I'm fairly confident that the Chinese response would be not to accept a trade war, but to respond in a strong way, but short of triggering an all-out conflict. I really think we should not worry too much.